Hi everyone. So in this video, we are going to take a look at expense approval workflow using Power Automate and SharePoint. So for this example, I have taken a very basic scenario. Like I have just created a SharePoint list having the columns like title, expense date. Then we have the column called as amount. Then we have the attachment, which is the out of the box attachment field. Then we have the approval status. So for approval status, I have maintained three values: the in progress, rejected, and approved. So the default is set to in progress. So whenever the new item is created, the status will be in progress. And then I have taken a field that is called approver comment, so that once the expense is approved or rejected, any approver or the approver user can add their comment if required. So that comment will appear in this field. So as you can see, this is a really simple form. So in this video, the main point we are covering is the start and wait approval action inside Power Automate. Also, we are going to use the conditional level approvals. So here I have the list. If I click on new item, as you can see, I can see the approval status. So I can change it, right? But what you have to do, you have to go to here, edit column, and you have to select, you have to uncheck this approval status so that it won't appear in the form, and approval comment as well. So as you can see, the currently, if I refresh this, if I click on new, I can see only three fields: title, expense date, and amount. You have to make this field required as per your need. So this is the simple list setup. Then we will be creating a flow in Power Automate. Just navigate to powerautomate.com. We have to create an automated flow, right? Because once the item is created, automatically we are going to send it for a approval. We don't have to create a manual flow to manually triggered by someone, right? So first you have to create an automatic cloud flow. I will give a flow name, a meaningful name that was, let's say, expense approval workflow. I'm just going to append this as training, and it will be triggered when the item is created in a SharePoint list. So this will be our trigger point. So I will just create a flow. So the first thing is we have to select this site and we have to select the list. So from which list we are triggering that flow. So here is my, where is my expense? Yeah, this one, expense approvals list, right? Then the next thing is I want to get the user email address, whoever submitted that expense, because we are going to send an approval email to their manager, but we are not maintaining any fields where user can put their manager. We are automating their process using the existing connector called as the get user manager. But first thing, we have to capture the email address of the whoever submitted that item. So for this, I'm just going to put a compose. You can use variable as well, but we just have to capture this information, and I don't want to create two actions like create a variable and then set them. So this is for now. I'm just using compose. I'll just rename it as user email to make it more realistic. Let's say created user email. So the input will be whoever submitted that item, that is created by email. Then we are going to perform an action called as Office 365 users, and here we are going to get a get manager. So once I put get manager, the input we have to put the current user email, not current user, that means whoever submitted that item, that email we are capturing in the compose, and we have to give this compose as input to this action. So I'm just going to put the created user email. I will save the flow. I will test the flow. So let's see whether the flow is running. I will click on test. I go to my SharePoint list. I create a new item. Here I will add title as the travel expense. Expense date will be, let's say, 12th of July. Amount will be 500. So this is amount is a number field, not a currency field. I will click on save. So as you can see, the item has been added. The approval status is in progress. I will go to my Power Automate. I will open another tab here. Because sometimes the flow runs in the background, but it shows after some time. So I'm just going to check whether the flow runs here. So it will take some time. Yeah, this has been run. You can see the created user email. So my email has been populated here, and here you can see the gate manager also successful. Again, the one thing, if you get the error here like user manager not found, that is because you did not set up any manager for the logged in user. So how do you check that? Because you will definitely get an error if you are working the very first time in your Power Automate flow, or the user is newly created. So how do you check that? You must have the admin permission assigned, like global admin or SharePoint admin, where you can manage the user data. So this is my development tenant. I have global admin access. So you go to admin center, you go to users, click on active users. So it will show all the active users in your organization. So here is my user, and you can see in manager I have one user that is called manager user assigned to me, right? So if you don't have any manager assigned here, you will definitely get an error here like manager not found, right? So you have to assign this user a manager inside your admin center. Okay. So after that, we got an email of the manager. So as you can see in the body, there is an email of this manager. So this also we are going to capture in the compose. So I will just edit the flow again. I'm going to use a compose, and I'm going to rename it as user manager email. The input will be whatever email we got from the get manager action. That I will just simply type mail. Now here our approval workflow start, because we already got the information and we already got the email address of these two users. So here I will add an action called as approvals. Start and wait for an approval. So if you are working very first time with any of these actions, it will first ask you to authenticate the connection. It will just sign in this connection. You don't have to worry. So in start and wait approval, you can see there are four types, like approve, reject, everyone must approve. So as the name suggests, everyone should approve. If you have four approvals, any of them reject, then your flow will be rejected. First to respond, that means if there are four approvals, you send approval to all these four users. If any one of them approve, then your flow continue. And these are the like custom responses and custom. So these are the same, but this is for the custom. If you want to add some custom choices, you can use the custom responses. So for this example, I'm going to use approve reject first to respond action, because the manager will be only one person, right? If you want to send an approval to manager and then HR, then finance team, you can add multiple actions as well. So the title of the approval I will put as expense approval request. from. So let's say there are multiple people working under one manager. So we are going to send an email, right? But it should be informative. So we are going to put a title as expense request from and the name of the user, whoever submitted that request, which we will get from created by display name. So assigned to will be my manager. So the email we got in the user manager email. So if you want to put multiple user, you just have to put all the emails semicolon separated. Then if you want to put the details, you can put the details like, let's say I will put the title. Then I will put the date of the approval. It's expense date, sorry, not approval date, it's expense date, which is the column in SharePoint list, and the amount. Let's say amount. If you want to add an item link so that manager can click on that item and they can directly navigate to SharePoint link, you can do that. So in this SharePoint action, we have that column that is called item link to item. You can specify the text for this link. Let's say I will choose the view form, sorry, view request. Then here we have some properties called enable notification. Yes, because we have to notify the approvals. Enable reassignment. If you want to reassign this approval to someone, you can do that. I will just keep these settings on by default. So I'm just going to click on save. Okay, so see this start and wait for an approval. Then we have to update the list item as well, depending on whether our request has been approved or rejected, right? So for that, we are going to use a condition, if else condition. So for this condition, I am going to use the value, which is the outcome of our approval, right? So what is the outcome? It is either approved or rejected. So outcome is equal to approved. So in case of approved, I want to update my SharePoint list item status to approved, right? So as you can see, there is my approval status. I will go to Power Automate. I'm going to search for an action called update item. Then we have to specify the site address, which is our Power Apps training, and the list name will be expense request, expense approval, and the unique ID, right? The SharePoint list item ID, which we get from the very first trigger, that is ID. So once I specify all these required field, then you will get the title, expense, that amount. As none of the field required, so I don't have to fill all the information again. But if there are any required field, you have to fill the information based on the existing item, right? So whenever item is created, you can specify title here as well. So once the status is approved, I want to select approval status as approved. I will click on save. Then I'm going to use the same action called rejected case. The only thing is here the status will be rejected. So I will just rename all the actions, update status to rejected, and this one will be update status to approved. I will just save the flow. Okay. I will click on test this flow. So for this, I have to go to the list again. I have to create a new item. So let's say medical expense. The expense date will be, let's say, 10th of July. and amount will be 1200. As you can see, the item has been created. Approval status is here. I have my Outlook open. So in my case, the approval email will be sent to the manager email address, right? So that is the completely different user. So I need to log in with that user, but I will just show you in the Power Automate like how the flow will be triggered. And then I'm going to change the approval email address to my logged in user email address so that we can see everything in a single screen. So we'll wait for a minute to trigger the flow. Just go here. I will just refresh. As you can see, the flow had been run, and I will go to here. I will refresh. Just open this, and this one I will click on edit. We will see how the flow is running. So whenever item is got created, I got the user email like who submitted that request. Then I'm going to fetch the user manager. I'm storing that email in this user manager compose action. Then I'm going to start and wait for an approval. So you can see this is currently in a waiting. So the request has been submitted. To check the emails, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to assign this approval to my logged in user email. So whoever created the item can approve the item as well. Actually, this is just for testing only. You don't have to put your email address to approve your own expenses, right? So this is just for showing you like how the email will receive. I'm just going to create it by email. So as you can see, assigned to will be my manager as well and created user as well. And the approval type is first to respond. So any one of them respond first will continue the workflow. I'm just going to save it again. I will click on test. So I will test it with the recent item. I'm not going to create a new item because it will take a minute to trigger the flow. So I'm just creating the existing item. So here as you can see the flow has been run. So let's wait for an email to arrive in our inbox. So as you can see the email has been arrived. I will just open that email. So you can see the title will be expense request from whatever the username who submitted that item. I'm just providing the date like medical expense, dates and the amount. And then we get two buttons, approve or reject. So I will put, let's say approved, approved. Go ahead. When I submit this, so our next action will run like it will go in a condition, it will check whether it's approved or rejected. So as you can see, after it is approved, it got in this action. We will check on list. I will refresh it and we will check whether the status has been changed. You can see the medical expense has been approved. That's why the status has been approved and changed to the new one. So in the rejected case, same. If we reject the item, it will go in this rejected case and it will update the status as rejected. So what you can do, I will just simply edit the flow. So one thing to note here, like when you do start and wait for approval, the approval, whoever the approver is, can also get notified on Microsoft Teams as well. Also, there is one more location you can check the approvals assigned to you. So for that, we need to go to Power Automate. So there are three locations. So let's say one is email, second one is Microsoft Teams, and then the third one is you have this approvals, what we can say, approvals menu on your Power Automate, right? But no one is going to actually go to this location to see the request. But yeah, this is good to know. Like there are three different locations where you can see the approvals, like received, what approvals you have sent, and the history as well, how many approvals you have sent, right? So all the requests you can see here. Now let's say there are cases like let's say conditional based approval. So amount is more than, let's say, specific number. So let's say amount is greater than 5,000. You have to send approval to multiple users, right? So for that, you can also do like, you first, you will put a condition to check the amount, because we are already getting the amount here. You can put a condition first, like amount is greater than 5,000 or not. If it is not 5,000, then we are going to perform this only action, start and wait, and then reject and approve. But if the approval amount is if the amount is greater than 5,000, what you can do, you can put multiple approvals, right? So here in my case, I have just assigned to my user manager for the amount less than 5,000. So there will be two actions created for start and wait, or you can use the field to put the approval emails, right? So that thing I'm going to showcase you how. Okay, so first what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add a condition to check the amount is greater than 5,000. So here I will choose the column from the SharePoint list. So let's say the amount is greater than or equal to, I'm not sure what is, I think it's greater than or equal to. Okay, then choose the value called as 5,000. Okay, so the amount is greater than equal to 5,000. Then what I'm going to do, I am going to add number of approvers in my approval email. So for that, here what we have to do, we just have to create a one variable to store that information. So let's say I will put a variable. First we have to initialize it, right? So go to variables, initialize the variable, rename as a meaningful name where approver emails. This will be a string type. Initially it will be blank. Okay, what we can do, we can just add the action below the get manager, because the initial approval will be the user manager, right? So here I'm going to put it as the user manager. Now this is the condition to check the amount is more than 5,000, right? So when the amount is 5,000, then we have to add, let's say, two or three peoples. What we can do, if the condition is true, I am going to set that variable with a more number of emails. So what I'm going to do, here I have set variable which is approval email. So the value will be, so the first email, the approvals will be first, which is my user manager. What you can do, you can specify, let's say, number of people. So email 2 will appear here, semicolon email 3, right? All these things. So what I can do, I can put, let's say, I will just go here, I will just choose another email addresses. So this is the second user, let's say, and here is my third user. So amount is greater than 5,000. I'm going to send an approval for these three peoples, right? And amount if less than 5,000, then it will don't go in condition for true. It will directly go to this condition. So here condition to check approval status. Then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start and wait will be here. And in this action, I'm just going to remove the assign to and set it to my variables, right? So you already got understand, when item is created, it will capture the user emails. It will check the amount is greater than 5,000. If yes, then it will be change the approval emails to multiple users like this one, like there is a Mike and Louis, and one with my manager user. And if it's not, then it's directly going to send an approval to my manager only. And here what I will do, I will just add my email address as well, created by user. I'm going to click on save. So the first condition, you totally understand, amount is greater less than 5,000. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new item with the amount greater than 5,000. So I'm just going to trigger it manually. I will go to my list. The expense title will be travel and medical expense. Expense date will be, let's say, 10th of July. Amount will be 15,000. I will click on save. The flow will run. We will wait for flow to run. As you can see, the flow has been run successfully. So it initializes the approval email. So initial will be, here is my manager and the current logged in user email. So it checks the condition like amount is greater than 5,000. Yes, it set that variable as the manager plus Mike and the Louis one. So the email will go through all these three peoples, right? So currently I will not receive any email because the email has been sent to all these three peoples, right? And this user has not been logged in currently, right? So this is how you can also use the conditional based approval as well. I'm going to click on edit the flow. Okay, the last thing is the approval comment. So what you can do directly, you have the show all option. Here you have the approval comment. So what you can do, you can directly write down the comment. So you can see the response comment. So currently you can see this goes under the apply to each. The reason is if there are multiple approvals, because we are going to append each and every comment, right? So if you want, if you are just sending an approval and first to respond user, so what you can do, you can just extract the first comment. So how you can do, so I will tell you how. Like if I go here, I will just copy this. I'm not able to get this value. Okay, let's say. So as you can see, this is the items for each. I'm just going to put the update here. And here I'm just using the first because we want first one. The first one of responses. So let's say there are three responses. I want only first one. Right? So here it will be like this. So the first of, I will zoom in my screen. If you, I will put here. So this is the first of all the responses. So all the responses we got, and we want to extract the first comment. So this expression I will copy. I will go up update approval and I will just put that expression here. Similarly, what you can do, just simply copy and paste that here. You have to get rid of these curly braces and I will delete this action. Okay. I will save the flow. We will finally check the complete flow, how it works. I'm just going to test it using the existing flow that has the amount less than 5,000. So it will send to my email only. So here I have run the flow. As you can see, the amount is less than 5,000 for the medical expense. So where is that? 1,200, right? So it skips this check. It goes through this condition, but it skips this step because the condition does not match. So it will directly go to start and wait. It is going to send an email to my email. So we will wait for a couple of minutes. The email has been arrived. I will put approved. Let's say I will reject this. Request is rejected. I have added my comment. So this approval comment we are going to store in the approval comment column in the SharePoint list. I will just click on submit. So you can see the flow has been successfully run. I will go here. I will refresh it. You can see the approval status is rejected, and here I have the approval comment that says the request has been rejected. So in this way, you can create an approval workflow. Although this is a very basic approval flow that sends an email to your manager, and if you are putting multiple conditions, you can dynamically set approvers. So that was the main point I wanted to cover in this video. So if you have any doubts or questions, you can let me know in comments. Thank you.